We often admire people's successes, but never take the time to explore their challenges. Talk to Lady brings out the inside stories of the peaks and valleys of our daily struggles. A weekly show that features people and stories from all walks of life.
I probably don't look like I chopped cotton or picked cotton, but I did. And now this is a $500,000 probably home, up to $500,000 home.
You'll hear success stories from rags to riches that will inspire you to aspire to be great. Be the first to know, only on LSTV1.
Greetings to our fabulous viewers out there. It's your girl, Ladybug, bringing you the Talk to Lady show, coming to you live on Big A TV. I hope all of you are doing well. I have a special guest today whose name is a household name in the Gambia and one of the most prominent media personalities in the Gambia. I hereby present to you Mr. Essa Jallow. Greetings, Essa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jamie.
You're welcome. Essa, you don't need much presentation because everybody knows who Essa Jallow is. If we say Essa Jallow, the first thing that comes to mind is Essa Jallow, GRTS. But for the benefit of the young ones who doesn't know who Essa Jallow is, based on your rich background, intensive background that you have, could you tell us who Essa Jallow is? Where is he from? Schools he attended and things like that?
Yeah, I was born and brought up in Brikama, and naturally went to Brikama Primary School, and from there I went to Muslim High School, and after Muslim High School, that's the time I joined Radio Gambia in the year 1992, and precisely on the 14th of May. So I was in Radio Gambia until the takeover 1994, 1995, 96, the TV was established. And that's when I was transferred to TV, and the career goes on like that.
When Essa was in school, what extracurricular activities did you partake in during your school days?
Well, I did a bit of football. I wasn't very good at it. So I didn't progress that much on it. But that was what I have done. I have mainly concentrated on academic activities, so very little curricular activities, because there was actually no time. Because when we were young, when we go to school, from 8 o'clock, say up to 2 o'clock, when we close, come back, have lunch, we go to Dara straight away. We ain't even allowed to do anything else. Go to Dara straight away. You come back around 6, 7 o'clock. It is time for the Maghrib prayers. After the Maghrib prayers, you read your Quran until the Isha prayer, and then you have your dinner. Then you are asked to read your books. So that was the routine. So there was very little time for extracurricular activities. Although when we have any opportunity, any window opportunity that we have, we try to go and play football.
Well, getting back into your professional career, if I'm correct, like you said, you started Radio Gambia in 1992. Please tell us about how that started and your career progression with Radio Gambia at the time.
Yeah, when I finished my GCE that is in 1991. Then you have young person, you're looking for any opportunity that comes your way. So because I was a science student, I did maths, physics, chemistry, biology, agricultural science, geography in school. Then it was like going into these science areas. So I applied to go to the School of Nursing at the time, because I couldn't afford to go to sixth form because my dad said he doesn't have the money. So I decided to apply to go to the School of Nursing. While I was waiting for the results to come, I was also selling at the Senegambia craft market. But before that, actually, when I finished school, before my results came, I briefly went into the teaching field. I was teaching in Brikama, which used to be called Foster's. We were one of the first few teachers who started teaching there. And while I was waiting for my results, so when my results came out, then I applied to go to the School of Nursing, and I was waiting for that at the same time teaching, and then also going to the Senegambia craft market and selling. Then when I was at Senegambia craft market, I had this announcement on Radio Gambia that there was a vacant position for a library assistant and a media assistant also at the Ministry of Information. So I came, my sister also told me about it, because the qualification was you have to have 5 GC O levels, including English language. I had a very good results in English. I had a grade 2 in English language. So that was the thing that actually made me. So my sister asked me whether I was going to apply. I said yes. He said to me, which one of them? I said, obviously, I don't want to sit in the library. I would want to apply for media assistant, even though I didn't understand what media assistant was at the time.
The names. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I applied for media assistant, and then, eventually they called for an interview at the Public Service Commission, the PSC. We were so many of us, and then five of us were picked. Out of the five of us, also, we were sent to Radio Gambia. That was actually when I realized that I was supposed to go to work at Radio Gambia.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Radio Gambia and they did the voices and further interviews, and myself and Agnes John were picked, and we were appointed in. We were giving our letters, and we started on the 14th of May in 1992, and we started as announcers. So we would do the public notices, and then the continuity announcing, and then eventually we went into news and some entertainment programs that we used to present as well.
What were you selling at the craft market at the time?
Yeah, my brother had a stall there. We were selling, artifacts for tourists, wood carvings, paintings, clothes, and stuff like that. So that was what I was selling for my brother.
Got you. Okay. And then you transitioned from the Radio Gambia to the GRTS, which is the Gambia Radio and Television Services, and many started to put the face with the name and the voice. And how was
Absolutely.
that transition like?
Yeah, that one too. When we After 1994, actually before 1994, there was a talk that there was going to be a TV, and Gamtel was going to start that TV. In fact, there was a lot of debate about whether Gamtel is the right institution, to take over Radio Gambia and eventually to set up the TV. And then there was actually a symposium that was held, in the run up to that. While that was happening, I was, how to call it, then the coup came in July. Then after the coup, then the military junta eventually transferred to Gambia on the Gamtel, and that was when this TV thing kick started. But when they were picking people who were supposed to go to the TV, I wasn't part of it. At the time, I was supposed to go to Egypt, so I went to Egypt, and when I came back, the TV had already started. So when the TV started, they were doing their thing, and I was at Radio Gambia until one day I received a letter out of the blue that I was supposed to go to be transferred to the TV. It was a complete surprise. So I went in there, and then I realized it was Boramboch who actually triggered that, because he was supposed to start news and sports and all whatnot. And he said he doesn't have the people who can actually help him, produce the news and the sports and the like. So that was how I was transferred, because they said I had some experience, in doing sports production and presenting news as well. So
Right.
that's how I went to TV, and then from there, we went on to so many things, and we established our first sports unit by that time.
Was
And
this
this was
picture
in
at the TV at the
yes,
GRTS?
yes, it was. This was the computer system that Tombong Sedi bought, even though so many people at the time didn't like the idea of him going and buying this equipment, because they were top of the range equipment at the time. This is the Avid. It was the first non-linear editing equipment in this country that we know. Probably somebody else has it, but this was the first one that we actually know of as a non-linear editing equipment. You see, because in editing you have the analog system, which is linear, and then the computer-based system, which we all use now, and which is non-linear. And this was the one. And this was around 1990. This was in 1998, because when Tombong bought this equipment, the company that sold it to GRTS, it was called Avid, and that's how this thing came. They were supposed to train people to use this equipment, and because of my my editing skills on the non-linear editing facility, I was sent to England in 1998, exactly on the 11th of May. That was. I was sent together with the late Alhaji Modu Sanyang and the late Ibrahim Sanyang to go and study about how to use this equipment. And then we stayed there. We came back, and that's how I started editing as a non-linear editor, one of the first people to do it in the country.
Wow. And I saw this picture too. And it looks like that was you back there, and that's Jame. This must be around 1992 when GRTS started newly, or when was this?
No, this was it was in 1994. This was supposed to be in 1995, just before I went to the TV, because the shot I was wearing, I actually bought that in Egypt, and that was when I just came back. This was around February, March of 1996, I would say.
Oh, okay.
And this was
Got you.
around Jahali Pachar. You can see some of the National Youth Service Scheme students who were there, and I was sent to cover Jamme's tour of the facility at Jahali Pachar. I was doing the coverage there by then.
Got you. Internationally, you served as a camera assistant covering Olympics football games. How was that experience like?
Oh, it was my greatest experience. I think it was something that actually helped me quite a lot in my career today. It all started when I went to England and then went into study television production. I did my foundation degree in broadcast television production at the University of Salford, and then I went on to Liverpool John Moss University to do my bachelor's degree on interactive media. So when the London won the Olympics, bid to host the Olympics in 2012, they were looking for people who were going to assist the professionals. So what they do is they go around the universities and look for students who are doing the same course as as broadcast. So that was how we were asked to apply. It was a very competitive application process. We did that. We were sent to London City University and had a bit of theory training, about a week, very intensive training, and some practicals. And then out of that process, we were picked. So I was lucky to be picked. And because I was living in Manchester, I was asked to go to Old Trafford so I could cover the football games. So while I was there, also I was shadowing as I was working with the director. I was working directly with the director in the van, in terms of all the Olympic games that were hosted at Old Trafford.
It must be a good experience for you. That's great.
Yeah, it was. It was the training process. The training process was really good. It was practical. I still have the book that we were giving. That was how I really understood how football coverage is done and all the other sports are done. And also it allowed me to meet so many other people at the time. At the time I met Neymar, I met Oscar, and all those players, great players. I even saw this guy at Barcelona. I can't remember his name now. The controversial player. All of those things. This time I met people, and I met some very, very experienced broadcasters and engineers. So I had this whole experience how this whole thing is being done, because I was doing it in theory at the university, and going to the Olympics actually exposed me to the practical aspect of how this whole Olympic process goes on. How they organize it, how they film it, and how all these signals are synchronized. All the technical details, we were taught how these things were done. And it was a very, very good experience for me. I think that actually shaped my thinking. It also actually was the icing on the cake on my training.
Nice. Then coming back to our national television, GRTS, how was it like working with media greats like Boran Boj and the rest during the infancy stage of the Gambia Radio and Television Services? I mean, people call it GRTS in short.
Yeah. When we started, we were all groping in the dark, because we were experienced radio producers, but we were not television producers. And I think because of that, that is what is affecting GRS till now. Because the foundation in the beginning, it was more of a radio personality starting, and we had a few people who came from the film unit who were experienced in filming, but they were not also experienced in program production. So we put that together, and then we were doing things the way we thought it was supposed to be done, and that was how GRS is shaped until today. But it was a good experience. As in, Bora was my mentor. I met him at Radio Gamba, and he had been a very, very good person to me. And also, he has always been open to me, and he has always taught me a lot of things. And I've also worked alongside greats like Peter Gomez, and I still think right now in the Gambia, he is the best journalist, or how would I say journalist, or an all-round radio presenter, or radio personality, or broadcaster in this country. I think he's a great person. I worked alongside him. I did some news presentation with him at Radio Gambia, and afterwards I worked with him also at Family Planning. But I think I would like to say here, he is the best we have in the country right now. So I also work with Jenna Banyang, who was also my mentor. He actually took over from a woman called Maria Carvalho, who was the first person to train us on how to read news. And when she left, Jenaba Nyang took over, and then we continued with Jenaba. And I also did presentations alongside Jenaba Nyang. At the time, I also worked with somebody like Malik Jang, who showed us how to, write news stories. So these are great people I have worked with, and that actually benefited me a lot, during my career. And I still cherish those moments.
Talking about the family planning that you just mentioned, I mean, when we hear Essa Jallow, we associate you with GRTS. But in 2015, everyone,
Yes.
including myself, was surprised that you resigned and then picked up a job with the Family Planning Association. Was the move necessitated, or was this just a change? What happened?
You mean when I moved from GRS to family planning?
Family planning, right?
Yes, a long story. I wouldn't want to go into the details because there were
Okay.
some controversial moments in that. I had
Mm-hmm.
some really unpleasant experiences while I was working at GRCS. In fact, at
Mm-hmm.
one point, I was called for questioning, and I didn't like that at the time, and I wasn't also very comfortable in that scenario. So then the opportunity came for family planning, opening up a media institution, and I thought, well, I would apply for that. And then I
Mm-hmm.
applied for that job, and I got it. But the background is I was actually not happy anymore at GRCS, and I was thinking that, well, if I continue here, I might not have what I wanted, and I may land myself into trouble because I know my temper and the things that I can do, and that could simply land me in trouble. Then I
Mm-hmm.
decided to leave and go into the wider world to see. And that was also a turning point in my career because I was thinking that I knew a lot when I was at GRTs at the time, but when I went to family planning, I realized that there's a lot more to learn. In fact, when I
Learn.
went in there, I went in there and I started some all new types of work because there I was only an editor. But also I was working with Peter Gomez at Family Planning and Sana Cisse. So we did a lot of work on sexual and reproductive health,
Mm-hmm.
videos and other health aspects that we were doing. So it actually was an eye opener because I also worked with a consultant from Ireland. He was called Mark. He also inculcated a lot into me in terms of the style of editing, the way you organize your productions and things like that. So that was very very good for me. Although I didn't like leaving GRTS, and I still do love GRTS, and I would want to go back to GRTS, but the environment wasn't that conducive for me, and I because I know how I think and how I would sometimes react, it might not be advisable for me to continue working there, and that was why I left. And many of the people who know me, who are close to me, were not really happy that I left. And even Bora actually didn't like that I left, and it was a problem. It ended up being a problem between me and him because I left him without actually giving him that notice that I was supposed to give to somebody who I call a mentor.
Got you. Doc, like I said in the beginning, you have an intensive background. You have gone through it all. You relocated to the United Kingdom, and the next news was that Essa is into politics. How did you get into politics? And at some point, I think you became the party press secretary for the GDC, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that one happened not too quickly because when I came back to Gambia in 2013, I came
Mm-hmm.
back with my qualifications, and then I went to GRTS and
Mm-hmm.
spoke to Lamin Manga. Then he was the director general, and he expressed interest in hiring me. I said, well,
Mm-hmm.
good. I want to come back to GRTS. He said, okay. And then I sent in my applications and everything that he asked me to do. I did that. And unfortunately, somebody somewhere asked him to stop the process.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't happy, not with Lamin Manga, but with the whole system.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to go along and do my private stuff. So while I was doing that, there were people who were actually who were members of the GDC in my area, and they were doing things around me, and were asking
Mm-hmm.
me to join the party. I didn't consider it until
Mm-hmm.
easily land myself in trouble for that matter. And secondly, I was passionate to participate in the run in to see how the regimes change peacefully. So
Right.
that was what motivated me. I was introduced to the party executive, and they accepted me. So I that's how it all started. Yeah.
Got you. And when you left the GDC, like since you left the GDC, what has Essa been up to?
Well, after the 2016 elections, I
Mm-hmm.
decided to leave and go back to England because while I was doing politics in
Mm-hmm.
Gambia, at that time I was back with family planning, and immediately I joined the GDC. Family planning said I couldn't continue working with them because I am into politics, and they have
Mm-hmm.
asked me to resign. So I did that, and that means I was living on my savings throughout the political process until after the elections. I was, the finances went down seriously because I was funding myself all throughout.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to go back to England to do a bit of work to gather some money to come back to Gambia so I can start my own productions again. But while I
Mm-hmm.
was in the UK, Ibrahim Asilla, now the Minister of Information, reached out to me and told me that he would want me to come back to Gambia and work with GRTS. And that's how I came back to Gambia again after just 6 months in England. I came back to the Gambia and rejoined GRTS as the program as a program manager.
Got you. And it looks like, I mean, now you're the communication secretary for the at the TRRC. Is that correct?
Yes, I am the head of communications and outreach. My actual portfolio is called communication specialist at the TRRC. Yes.
What does that job entails? Can you tell us a brief of what you do there?
Well, it's in short, I am responsible for all media and communications activities of the TRRC,
Mm-hmm.
and also the head of the outreach team. That is outreach, meaning the activities that the TRRC does in the communities.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do in a nutshell. The broadcast aspect of the TRRC, the running of the Facebook page, the website, and also some communications and other little stuff. There are other things that I do that are not
Mm-hmm.
known to the public, but those are actually additional things that I do.
Got you. And coming back to your life, it looks like I understand that you are deeply involved in sports, especially in Burkama. Can you tell us a bit about that? Because from research, we found out that you've been doing a lot, especially in the Berawuleng area. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yes, sports has always been my passion. I couldn't do it on the field, and I thought I could do it off the field. When I went to
Mm-hmm.
Radio Gambia, and I was fascinated meeting Boran Boj
Mm-hmm.
because of his commentary and Peter Gomez and all whatnot. And so I expressed interest in joining the sports there, and that's how I started doing sports journalism in the Gambia. And
Mm-hmm.
that passion continued to the community, being in Berewoleng and being somebody who has younger brothers, nephews and nieces around there, would want to contribute back to the community. And that's how
Right.
we got ourselves involved in the team and do a lot of things. A close friend of mine actually is the chief patron of Berewoleng, and I do a lot of the things on his behalf, and being a front for Berwell all the time. So that's how I am really passionate about football, and I love the game, and I also love the fact that it is something that can keep the youths away from the streets, and it can also be some an employment for our youth, because you can see what would happen if a player or if a footballer plays professional football outside the Gambia. He instantly becomes very wealthy. So it's something that I really like, and I think that it is one of the areas that the country can harness so that it can reduce the massive youth unemployment in the country.
You're contributing a lot in the community, and which is very inspiring. Let me ask you this: are there any organizations that you partnered with in doing charitable work, or you just do it anytime you're called upon?
No, I didn't partner with any charitable organization. As in Berewuleng, we also have what we call the Berewuleng Development Committee, which I was instrumental in setting up. The first thing we did was, when the road was bad, we mobilized funds, and then we brought gravel and and paved the road. And then after that, we also, because when the new road was also constructed, it actually many of the trees around there were cut down. So we also mobilized again, and we bought a lot of trees and planted it in the community. And now we are also trying to fix the potholes and all whatnot around the streets in Berewoleng, putting some more gravel there. So in the rainy season, the roads that are linking to the main road, people can use it. So we're doing all of these things because we think it is our neighborhood, it is where we live. If we do it, we're doing it for ourselves and our parents and our brothers and sisters, because in the rainy season, in the Gambia, a lot of places are just inaccessible. And if you're waiting for government or for the local authorities to do it, it will take a lot of time. So because we can mobilize people to come and do the manual job, we provide the finances by contributing ourselves and also meeting people we know in other areas. For example, we went to the area council, and then because at least they could, for them to chip in, and they were able to give us some fuel that we put in the vehicles who went, and they also facilitated to give us license to go to the quarry so that we can mine the gravel and bring it in the community so that we can have all of these roads fixed. We're still on it. It's a very difficult job. Right now we have already we have spent over $100,000, and the job is not even a quarter way done.
Oh, wow. Well, like they say, charity begins at home. Well done for taking the lead in your community and being involved in community work. It looks like we're coming to the end of this interview, but like I said in the beginning, your story is an inspirational one. And what would Essa like to tell the young journalists coming up? What would you have to say to them if you were to tell them anything today that will motivate them or inspire them to become who they want to be?
Yes, number one, I think our journalists are lucky because now there are various institutions that are offering courses. When we started, there was none. We only think about going out and read. Now you have Majak set up by the GPU. You also have Inside Training, who have a journalism program. The university is there. So all of these things are there. What I would advise people who are coming into journalism, let them not come into journalism because they don't have anything else to do. You see, it is a noble profession. It is a profession for people who are great thinkers. So they should be able to be people who are really good at what they do, and I would advise them to read, because if you don't read, you wouldn't be able to understand the issues around you. So it's good for you to read a whole range of subjects, and then that would open up your mind and it will help you to be able to do your job properly. Because, for example, if you are supposed to interview say for example you want to interview Halifa Saleh and you were just a normal grade 12 student, or you just had a small diploma in journalism and nothing else, you will find it very, very difficult to interview him, because he is like 1 million miles away from where you are. So
True.
you have to educate yourself so that you will be able to hold people to account, and then you'll be able to debate, you'll be able to bring issues on the table, and if they say things, you will be able to understand. And secondly, if people, so the journalist is supposed to make very complex situations simple. So if you don't understand those complex situations, you cannot make it simple for people to understand. So my advice is for them to continue reading and keep reading and reading and reading. Is what is going to make you be a good journalist.
Keep reading, keep reading, keep reading. What do we expect from Essa in the near future?
Well, for now, I am engaged with the TRRC, and I would want to see the end of it. I'm very, very much passionate about the transitional justice process and seeing that everything that we have worked for is actually implemented. After that, unless if there's a job that comes out for me to do, I am going back into private production again. Probably I will be on the online platforms and all whatnot. But that's I'm going to go private unless and until another job offer comes that I really think I would do, or probably find myself at GRTS or somewhere. Yeah.
Any last words, Essa?
I would like to thank you for inviting me, for making me so important I think
Very
this is
important.
I am happy that I am on your platform, and I would encourage you to continue the good work you're doing. And I would want to encourage everybody to support you in terms of watching what you do, subscribing to whatever you're doing. And I also know that you are on into some charity and other things, and I would encourage you to continue doing that. And I would like to thank each and everyone who is actually watching this program. I'm saying I'm happy that I'm on this platform, and I would encourage you to continue watching Jemiba.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jallow. It's an honor to have you on the show, and we look forward to have you again in the future. Thank you so much. We're very grateful. We appreciate your
Thank you.
time.
Thanks.
Well, viewers, that was Mr. Essa Jallow. As you all know, he has a rich background from the horse's mouth. Until I come your way again, it's your girl, Lady Bar, bringing you Talk to Lady Show, a show that would inspire you to aspire to be great. Until we come again next Friday, it was your girl, Lady Bar. Have a wonderful day. Take care. And thanks for all the comments, the views. We see it. We love it. We appreciate it. Take care and bye for now.
We often admire people's successes, but never take the time to explore their challenges. Talk to Lady brings out the inside stories of the peaks and valleys of our daily struggles. A weekly show that features people and stories from all walks of life.
I probably don't look like I chopped cotton or picked cotton, but I did. And now this is a $500,000 probably home, up to $500,000 home.
You'll hear success stories from rags to riches that will inspire you to aspire to be great. Be the first to know, only on LSTV 1.